So Mark, since the last time you were up here, we've done some stuff. I knew you knew it was coming, but we finally got the feature we wanted in the vintage motorcycle cabin. And I want to give you a shout out, by the way, for this this book. I haven't read it yet, but it's going to go in the vintage cabin.
Oh, how cool.
So you guys who decide to come and rent the vintage cabin, you're going to see some of Mark's exploits and with pictures and illustrations from some of his adventures around the area. Around the country, including Monterey, correct? I saw Monterey in some of the picture captions, which is cool. Anyways, this is going in the cabin. All right, so let's go.
Thank you.
So this is our weekender cabin. It's the vintage motorcycle cabin. And since you're here last time, Mark, I think you're going to see the detail of what we added.
There she is.
So that's the 1973 Yamaha Mini Enduro, the first bike that I ever owned at age 6. And it was a beast to get up there. We had pulleys, but it looks pretty cool.
It's in its natural state.
Yeah, right?
In the air.
To give you some sense of perspective, you know, it's pretty high ceilings. And, you know, it's hanging up there. This thing's only 120 pounds, so you see all the other details. All those little things that you see on the wall are motorcycle toys that I started collecting last winter when I was bored out of my mind, thinking about what are we going to put in all these different cabins. And yeah, we came up with those, or 1940s and 50s toys. And I think I might have showed you last time, but this one's for the motorcycle cabin. I'll put it in the light. Every cabin that's themed up here has its own set of themed dominoes, and this one's the vintage motorcycle one. So we've got these stamps that came from all over the place. They're all cut out and made by this local woman in town, and all different kinds of bikes on them and everything. Isn't that cool? That's pretty badass.
That is cool.
So if you're stuck inside and it's raining, I know everybody on motorcycles just loves the rain. You know, you can play dominoes and pass the time away a little bit.
And who made those?
This is our friend Lauren in town, and Lauren, yeah, she makes them by hand, and she spends. She works at Claire's.
Okay.
And yeah, she makes them for us. They're all custom. We have one for every cabin. And then upstairs, I don't know if you had a chance to see, but we've got a loft up there. That's what we call a half loft. Some of these have full lofts where you can walk around and stand 6'4" in the middle. These are little half lofts with single beds, and those beds are literally the mattresses. Those kind of mattresses come from RV kits. You buy the mattresses to fit RVs, so they're just at 6 foot. So if you're too much taller than 6 foot, this might not be your cabin, but I'm 6 foot and I can lay in them comfortably without having to bend my knees or anything like that. But yeah, nice sort of Eddie Bauer sheets and covers, stuff like that. And all these posters on the wall are from my former BMW motorcycle mechanic, George. And George shut his place down and sold his business and retired. And he had all these really cool posters. They were unframed. And so Holly and I framed them up, and they're a part of this vintage cabin. And some of them are pretty cool. Like, you know, look at this guy. This is the Ernst Henn, the guy who rode his motorcycle. This was like 100th year anniversary. It's like way 100, like close to 100 years ago. This is 173 miles an hour. Can you imagine? Yeah. So he's riding this. And of course, you have the biplane behind him in the background, but it's kind of, you know, it's kind of like the spirit of people who ride vintage bikes and do adventure. And all these are BMW posters, and then some of these are, you know, some of these look like they're from the Isle of Man, TT races and stuff like that. Really cool. Yeah.
I've got a buddy that has a sidecar on a Harley Sportster, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And he traveled cross country on it with his wife. Show what a bungee cord master he is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's got that thing just kitted out to the hilt.
I've seen some of those things where you just, like, the bike is so full and packed down because these guys are really great experts at it. And they're so kitted out and packed down that it's almost like you can't even ride them. But they know how to make it work. And this is, like, you can see this is like the kind of detail we bought. This came from Louisville, Kentucky. I bought it off a marketplace and had it brought up here. The Indian motorcycle table, which is really cool. And we just bought some trim here that's meant for, you know, so kids don't bang their teeth and stuff when they're crawling around the house. And we use that to put under here so this thing doesn't slide around. Pretty cool. And And then over here you can see like, you know, we don't, you know, Holly and I are BMW snobs a little bit. You know, that's all the bikes we pretty much have aside from that Yamaha. But we wanted to make sure that people didn't think we were, so we got little things like mugs that are individualized for people up here. So if you're in one of our 2 motorcycle cabins, you're likely to see something that you ride in here. There's like, for instance, the Harley Davidson, classic Harley Davidson, one of the earlier bikes ever made by them, is a model of that. So yeah, we try. And these, like, this stuff, you have to work really hard to find. But like, this is a picture of, like, I can't remember if it's the First or Second World War. I think it's the Second World War. But like, people in the military, soldiers riding with sidecars. And this is an original print from like I can't remember what year it was. It's really old. Anyways, and then everything comes kind of standard. Every place we have here is, you know, we've got a fridge and a microwave and you know, coffee makers and tea makers and stuff. And if you stay up here, we end up putting up a basket of continental stuff for your breakfast and things like that. So when you get up in the morning, you can have it, or you can come down to the house and eat a continental breakfast at the house. So that's kind of how we're planning on doing stuff for folks.
Very cool.
Yeah. Oh, and your little heating system over here, I know it's small, but it's very mighty. You know, we have it turned off right now. It's registering 47 degrees in here now because winter's coming. But you turn it on, and it just, you know, you're less than 200 square feet of space in these things, and this heats up to 250 square feet. So it heats downstairs, and it'll also heat the upstairs because you have a half loft, and it's infrared heating. So there's no gas. There's no, like, you know, nothing's going to kill you. It's just straight up infrared heating, and it's not also like one of those you would see, those space heaters you see in people's houses that are just like on constantly. It's got like this menu on it that you put on auto and set it to what you want it at. So when you get ready to arrive, I can literally, with my app on my phone, you know, I can use the app and turn up the temperature to what the desired thing is. So if you're coming at like 10 o'clock at night or 9 o'clock at night, I can turn it to whatever your temperature desires from my house. So when you arrive, it's already set and warm, and you don't have to worry about coming in and freezing, which will be useful for things like people coming up to Snowshoe to go skiing and stuff like that. But
and that's another thing. This isn't just going to be a seasonal campground. This is going to be all year.
Yeah, year round.
That are touring.
Yeah, these little bunkies, they have insulation through the floor and insulation in the ceiling, and then of course you have wood, which has it's pretty, you know, it's a couple inch thick wood, so you've got an insulated value there. And they're made up in Canada, where my family's from, in Ontario. And they call them a 3.5 season up in Canada. It's much colder than it is here, even though Highland County gets pretty chilly. But you add a heater like this, and it really is pretty solid. And, you know, we'll make sure everybody. I want people to stay. I get cold at night, even though I'm Canadian. We do get cold. We just wear more clothes. And so my thought process is, if I can't stay in these cabins, then we'll close it down for the season. So we put in these heating systems for the whole purpose of being able to keep them open year round. Now, they're going to be chilly until you arrive, and then prior to that, I'll turn the heat on, and you guys can, you know, adjust it per your requirements once you get in. But, you know, we want this to be something people can come and rent on their way to Snowshoe, or they're going skiing or snowboarding, and we also want it to be, you know, in the summer, spring and summer up here, we're at 2,200 feet, and the back of the property is over 4,000 feet, which is about a mile from here, the end of the property. And so it's cool even in the summer. That's one of the great things about Highland County and the surrounding area, because the mountains here in Virginia, it stays much cooler here. It's like 10 to 15 degrees cooler in the spring and summer than it is in, say, Nova, where a lot of people are coming from. So that's an advantage to us. We don't really need air conditioning units in here, but we do have fans and ceiling fans and fans in the lofts and stuff like that, and screened windows and things like that. So they're a pretty hardy little kit that we built. Thanks, man. Virginia Backcountry Cabins. Like, follow, and share.
And that's a wrap.